The stars had always been a symbol of hope for humanity. For centuries, Earth had looked to the heavens, dreaming of exploration, knowledge, and unity with the other species in the galaxy. But today, that dream was shattered. The Galactic Council was in session. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in the Grand Chamber, their forms shimmering with different hues and shapes. They spoke in calm, measured tones, their words floating through the air like soft whispers. Earth's representative, Ambassador Elias Carter, stood at the front of the room, waiting for the inevitable. The Council had been growing impatient with humanity for years. Earth's rapid technological advancement, its unyielding desire to conquer and control, and its refusal to follow the peaceful, non-interventionist policies of the Council had made the other species nervous. They had warned humanity countless times, but nothing had changed. Now, the time had come. The leader of the Council, a tall, ethereal being named Sereth, stood up. The room fell silent. "We, the Galactic Council, have reached a decision." Sereth's voice echoed through the hall. "Humanity has proven itself too dangerous, too unpredictable. After careful deliberation, we have voted to expel Earth from the Council. Effective immediately, all relations with humanity are severed." A wave of gasps and murmurs spread across the room. The Council members exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement, others looking uncertain. But the decision was final. Ambassador Carter felt his heart race. He had known this was coming, but hearing it spoken aloud was another thing entirely. He stood tall, his voice strong, but his hands clenched into fists at his sides. "This is a mistake," Carter said, his tone unwavering. "You are making a grave error. Earth will not bow to you. We will rise." There was a brief silence before Sereth responded. "You have already chosen your path, Ambassador. The Council has spoken. You are no longer welcome among us. Earth is banned." The words stung like a blow, but Carter held his ground. He had come here as a representative of humanity, and he would leave as one. There was no fear in his eyes, only a burning determination. As the session ended, Carter turned to leave the chamber. He had no intention of accepting defeat. No, this was just the beginning. He stepped out into the cold, metal hallways of the Council's citadel, his mind already racing with ideas. They thought they had silenced humanity, but Carter knew the truth. Earth had always been capable of greatness, and now they would prove it. He knew that, with the right leadership, humanity could build its own future. Outside, the stars glittered in the vastness of space. Earth had been cast out. But far from being crushed by the Council's decision, humanity would now find a way to thrive. They had been banned from the Council, so they would make their own empire. The decision had been made. The Galactic Council had expelled Earth, but that wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of something far greater. In the days following the Council's verdict, Earth's leaders gathered in secret. The news of their banishment had spread quickly across the planet, causing panic and confusion. But Ambassador Carter, now back on Earth, had a clear vision for humanity's future. They would not be bound by the Council's rules. They would build their own empire, one far stronger than any the Council could imagine. A plan was set in motion. The Titan Initiative. It was an ambitious program, one that had been secretly prepared for years in case of this very moment. Earth had long been developing technology that could allow them to survive and thrive in the vast reaches of space, away from the watchful eyes of the Council. Now, with no other choice, they would use it to build their future. Within months, humanity began colonizing the frontier worlds, planets far beyond the reach of the Galactic Council. These planets were wild, dangerous, and untamed. But humanity had always been a species of survivors. Where other races saw hostile environments, humans saw opportunities. They terraformed planets, creating cities in places that were once uninhabitable. They built self-sustaining habitats that could support entire populations. The first of these colonies was called New Earth, located on a distant world that had once been nothing more than a barren rock. Now, it was a thriving hub of human life. Towering cities stretched across the horizon, surrounded by vast fields of crops and forests. Factories hummed with activity, and spaceships filled the skies, traveling back and forth between the colonies and Earth. It was a bold new world, full of potential. As the colonies grew, Earth also began to strengthen its military. The technology developed for peaceful purposes was now repurposed for defense. Advanced warships, equipped with powerful weapons, patrolled the borders of human space. These ships were faster, more efficient, and more deadly than anything the Council had ever seen. Humans had learned the art of war, and they were not afraid to use it when necessary. The rest of the galaxy watched in silence as Earth began to expand. The Council, in particular, was not happy with the sudden rise of humanity. They had hoped to keep Earth in check, but now they saw it as a growing threat. The galactic powers whispered among themselves, wondering what humanity's next move would be. Would they seek revenge? Or would they build something new, something far greater? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. Humans were not content to simply survive. They were ambitious. They were driven. And they were ready to prove that Earth, banished from the Council, could create a civilization that would one day rule the stars. As the first colony flourished, Ambassador Carter addressed the people of Earth. His words echoed across the planet and into space. We have been cast aside, but we are not weak. We are not powerless. We will create a new order, one that will be ours to command. The stars will know our name, the Terran Empire. Humanity had been abandoned, but they would not stay forgotten. They would rise, and they would make their own future. The Terran Empire was still young, but its growth was undeniable. In less than a year, humanity had established a strong presence on multiple worlds, each one a symbol of Earth's resilience and determination. Trade routes flourished, and Earth's colonies became a magnet for species seeking freedom from the tight grip of the Galactic Council. But with power came attention that was not always welcome. In the outer reaches of space, a lesser-known alien empire, the Rulak Dominion, watched the rise of the Terran Empire with growing concern. The Rulak were a proud and aggressive species, known for their brutal tactics and their hunger for conquest. They had long seen humanity as little more than an annoyance, an insignificant, young species unworthy of the stars. But as they saw the Terran Empire grow stronger by the day, the Rulak began to fear that Earth might soon become an uncontrollable force. The Rulak Dominion's leadership decided they would strike before humanity became too powerful. If they could take one of Earth's colonies, they could send a clear message to the entire galaxy. Humanity was not ready to lead, and they would never be a threat. The Rulak assembled a fleet of warships, each one armed to the teeth with devastating weapons. Their target was Valaris 7, one of the newest human colonies, rich in natural resources and strategically located near the edge of Terran space. The Dominion believed this would be a quick and easy victory. They underestimated the humans. As the Rulak fleet approached Valaris 7, their warships moved with precision, ready to bombard the planet and take control. They were confident, overconfident, in fact. They were about to discover the hard way just how wrong they were. When the first wave of Rulak ships entered Valaris 7's orbit, they were met with an unexpected sight. Hundreds of human warships, hidden in the shadow of the planet, emerged from their stealth positions. These were not the slow, clunky ships of old. No, these were sleek, powerful vessels, equipped with advanced quantum weapons that the Rulak had never seen before. The first shots rang out as the human ships unleashed their firepower. The Rulak fleet was caught off guard, their ships torn apart by the surprise assault. Human warships darted in and out of the enemy's formation with incredible speed, avoiding counterattacks and striking from unexpected angles. The Rulak had expected to crush humanity. Instead, they were being shattered. The battle lasted for hours, with the Rulak fleet being systematically destroyed. They tried to regroup, but it was too late. Humanity's ships, commanded by skilled officers and advanced AI systems, were relentless. The Rulak, no matter how many they sent, could not match the Terran Empire's military might. In the end, the Rulak Dominion's fleet was destroyed, and Valara 7 remained firmly under human control. The few surviving ships fled back to their homeworld, leaving behind a clear message: Earth would not be intimidated. Back on Earth, Ambassador Carter received the news. His face remained calm, but a quiet pride swelled in his chest. This battle had been more than a victory. It was a statement to the galaxy. Humanity was no longer a weak, banished species. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Terran Empire was not just surviving, it was thriving. And now, the rest of the galaxy would see it. The battle for Valara 7 had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The Rulak Dominion had underestimated humanity, and the results were clear. Earth was no longer an insignificant species. The Terran Empire had shown its strength and its willingness to protect its colonies at all costs. News of the defeat of the Rulak fleet spread quickly, and it wasn't long before other alien species began to take notice. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was unsure of its future. The Galactic Council, once a symbol of peace and unity, had failed to contain the growing power of the Terran Empire. Instead of being silenced by their banishment, humanity had done the opposite. They had built their own path, and now they were moving forward with strength and confidence. The Terran Empire was more than just a collection of colonies. It was a vision of unity and power, of human strength in a galaxy that had once looked down on them. As Ambassador Elias Carter had declared, Earth was not interested in begging for acceptance. Instead, they would create their own destiny. Emperor Carter, now the undisputed leader of the Terran Empire, stood before a gathering of human leaders in the Grand Hall of the capital on Earth. His eyes burned with determination as he addressed his people. We have been rejected by the Council, but we do not need them. We do not need anyone to define who we are. We will define ourselves. The Terran Empire will be a shining example of what humanity is capable of. Together, we will forge a new future, not just for us, but for all who choose to stand with us. The hall erupted in applause, but Carter's mind was already on the future. The Terran Empire was still young, but it was rapidly growing. The colonies were thriving, and new ones were being established every day. Earth's warships patrolled the borders, ensuring the safety of the Empire. But Carter knew that there was still much to be done. The first step was to solidify the power of the Terran Empire among the stars. Earth needed to expand its influence, to show the galaxy that it wasn't just a survivor, but a leader. And to do that, Carter knew they would need allies. The once loyal members of the Galactic Council were watching the rise of the Terran Empire with fear and suspicion. But there were others who were beginning to see the potential in humanity's vision. Alien species who had grown tired of the Council's bureaucracy and its slow, ineffective decision-making began to approach the Terran Empire, offering their support. Many of these species had been oppressed by the Council, forced to conform to rules they didn't agree with. Now they saw in the Terran Empire a chance to break free. One by one, these species swore allegiance to the Terran Empire. They were not subjects, but equals, partners in building a new order. With each new alliance, the Terran Empire grew stronger, its reach expanding further across the galaxy. As the Empire spread, the message was clear. Humanity had not only survived its exile, but it had thrived. The Terran Empire was not just a collection of colonies. It was the future of the galaxy. And for those who stood with Earth, a bright future awaited. The rise of the Terran Empire was unstoppable. And the galaxy would soon learn that under human leadership, things would never be the same. The Terran Empire's rapid growth had shaken the foundation of the galaxy. With each new world that joined the Empire and each new victory humanity claimed, the rest of the galaxy couldn't help but take notice. Some were impressed, some were fearful, and others were angry. The Galactic Council, now fractured and unstable, found itself facing an unexpected enemy, humanity. The Council had hoped that the banishment of Earth would end the threat of a rising human empire. Instead, Earth had become a force too powerful to ignore. The Rulak Dominion's defeat on Valaris 7 was only the beginning. The Terran Empire continued to expand, building alliances and strengthening its military. Now, Earth was a serious contender for control of the galaxy. Council members, especially those from powerful and long-established species, began to worry. If the Terran Empire continued on its current path, humanity would not just challenge the Council, it would overtake it. The delicate balance of power that had existed for centuries was about to be destroyed. The Council could not allow that to happen. The decision was made. The Council would act. They would attempt to crush the Terran Empire before it became too strong. An embargo was imposed on all human colonies, cutting them off from trade and supplies. The Council also began to assemble a massive fleet, ready to invade and destroy human space. The message was clear. Humanity's rise had to be stopped, or the Council's grip on the galaxy would be lost. Back on Earth, Emperor Carter received the news. The Council's blockade was a challenge, one that he had expected. He knew that the galaxy's old powers would not let go of their control so easily. But the Terran Empire was no longer the weak, isolated species they had been before. They had become a true power, with the strength to defend their colonies and retaliate when necessary. Carter quickly ordered his fleet to be put on high alert. The embargo would not stop them. The Terran Empire would find new trade routes, new ways to get the resources they needed. And if the Council's fleet came, they would be ready. Humanity's warships were fast, advanced, and equipped with weapons the Council had never seen. The Terran Empire's fleet had already outpaced the technological advancements of many galactic species. The ships were not just powerful, they were smart. Artificial intelligence helped the human fleet make decisions in real time, adapting to the ever-changing battlefield. And with the best minds from every colony working together, human engineers had crafted weapons that could pierce even the strongest shields. It wasn't long before the first skirmish took place. The Council's fleet, a vast armada of different species and ships, arrived at the edge of Terran space. They were ready to strike, but they were met with an unexpected force. The Terran fleet, composed of sleek human warships, surged forward, pushing back the invading armada. The Council had underestimated humanity once again. They thought that a massive combined fleet could crush the Terran Empire, but Earth's ships were too fast, too deadly. Every attack from the Council was countered with precision. The battle was fierce. The sky above the human colonies filled with explosions and flashing lights as both fleets clashed. But when the dust settled, it was the Terran Empire that stood victorious. The Council's fleet was broken, its ships retreating in disarray. The message was clear. The Terran Empire was not to be underestimated. For the first time, the galaxy understood that humanity had no intention of backing down. The Council had struck first, but it had failed. And now, the Terran Empire was more powerful than ever. The war for control of the galaxy had only just begun. The defeat of the Council's fleet had sent ripples across the galaxy. The Terran Empire was proving itself to be an unstoppable force. The alien species who had once looked down on humanity were now beginning to see them as equals, if not more. Some were even beginning to consider the idea of joining the Terran Empire, rather than opposing it. But not everyone in the galaxy shared that view. The Council, despite its failure in the recent battle, was still determined to crush humanity's growing power. There were whispers among the Council members of desperate measures, of actions that would ensure the Terran Empire's downfall. But it wasn't just Council leaders who were plotting. There was one individual, one alien who had seen enough. Vekral was a high-ranking official in the Council, an alien of great influence and intellect. He had spent years in the upper echelons of galactic politics, watching the Council make decisions that seemed more about preserving power than about doing what was right for the galaxy. He had always been a loyal servant of the Council, following its commands without question. That is, until now. Vecrol had watched the rise of the Terran Empire with growing unease. At first, he had dismissed humanity as a passing threat, a flash in the pan that would soon burn out. But as time passed, he saw that Earth was not like the other species they had conquered or cast aside. Humanity had an unshakable will to survive and grow. They were driven by a fire that no other species seemed to possess. The more he observed, the more Vecrol realized something. The Council had made a grave mistake by banishing Earth. It wasn't a species to fear, it was a species to embrace. But Vecrol's pleas to the Council had fallen on deaf ears. He had argued that humanity's strength could be a valuable asset to the galaxy, that the Terran Empire could become an ally rather than a threat. But the Council, blinded by their pride, had rejected his views. They refused to change. They refused to listen. That's when Vecrol made the hardest decision of his life. He would defect to the Terran Empire. In the dark of night, Vecrol contacted a high-ranking human official, a trusted ally of Emperor Carter. His message was brief but clear. I know your enemy. I know their weaknesses, and I can help you destroy them. At first, the humans didn't believe him. They were suspicious, but Vecrol was determined. He provided detailed intelligence on the Council's military strategies, their secret plans, and even the hidden locations of some of their most dangerous weapons. His information was invaluable. Soon after, Vecrol made the journey to Terran space. His arrival was a carefully planned event. Despite the risk of being captured or killed by the Council's agents, he managed to safely land on Earth, where he was greeted by Emperor Carter himself. "You've made the right choice," Carter said, his voice calm but firm. "The galaxy has underestimated humanity for far too long. With your help, we will make sure they never make that mistake again." Vecrol's defection sent shockwaves through the galaxy. It was not just one alien defecting. It was a powerful figure who had once been a key member of the Council. His defection was a symbol of the growing dissatisfaction within the ranks of the galaxy's old powers. The Terran Empire had gained not only a valuable ally, but also a valuable piece of intelligence that would prove to be crucial in the battles to come. The Council had not only failed in their attempt to stop humanity, they had just given the Terran Empire the tools to bring them down once and for all. And Vecrol, he had chosen a side, the side of humanity. The defection of Vecrol was a turning point for the Terran Empire. His knowledge of the Galactic Council's inner workings was invaluable, and his presence within the Empire sent a clear message. Even the highest-ranking officials within the Council were beginning to lose faith in its leadership. The galaxy, once a place of rigid hierarchies and old powers, was now teetering on the edge of change. With Vecrol's intelligence, the Terran Empire was able to launch a series of well-coordinated strikes against key Council assets. The Council's military infrastructure, once considered untouchable, was now vulnerable. Human warships, with their advanced weaponry and AI-assisted strategies, struck with precision, disabling Council outposts and crippling their supply chains. It was clear that the Terran Empire wasn't just a rising power. It was a real threat to the old order. As the Terran Empire continued its offensive, more and more species began to question their allegiance to the Council. The Council had been a symbol of peace, but it had also been a symbol of control, a body that enforced its will across the galaxy without regard for the desires of the species it governed. Humanity's rise had shown them another way, a way of freedom, of self-determination, and of strength. It wasn't just humans who were growing disillusioned with the Council. Many alien species who had once felt bound to it were now considering the possibility of joining the Terran Empire. Back on Earth, Emperor Carter was leading the charge. He stood in the war room, surrounded by his closest advisors. The map of the galaxy stretched out before them, with red lines marking the Empire's recent conquests and blue lines representing the remaining strongholds of the Council. "We've made great progress," Carter said, his voice steady. "But the Council isn't going to give up without a fight. We need to prepare for their next move." Vecrol, standing beside him, nodded. They will strike back with everything they have. But they've underestimated you, Emperor. The Terran Empire is more than just a military force. It's an idea, and ideas spread faster than weapons. Carter smiled, but his eyes remained focused. You're right. It's not just about defeating their fleets. It's about winning the hearts and minds of the galaxy. We need to show them that humanity is more than capable of leading. As the days passed, the Terran Empire's influence continued to grow. More planets joined the Empire, and those that had once stood with the Council began to reconsider. The Council, once so sure of its power, was now facing a challenge from within. Its grip on the galaxy was slipping, and it was clear that humanity's rise was no longer a matter of if, it was a matter of when. But the Council wasn't going to let go easily. Its leadership, in an effort to maintain control, began to make desperate moves. They called upon the most powerful fleets in the galaxy, commanding them to mobilize against the Terran Empire. A final, all-out war was on the horizon, a war that would decide the fate of the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the balance of power in the galaxy was in question. The Terran Empire, once rejected and cast aside, was now the force that could reshape everything. And as Emperor Carter gazed out at the stars, he knew one thing for certain: the Terran Empire would not back down. The fight for the future of the galaxy was just beginning. The tension in the galaxy had reached its peak. For years, the Terran Empire had steadily expanded, gaining allies, and defeating any who dared to challenge them. The Council, shaken by the loss of one battle after another, had no choice but to make their final stand. Their fleets, now bolstered by the best ships and the most advanced technology they could muster, were preparing for the decisive conflict. Emperor Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship Sovereign, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the movements of the Council's forces. The battle for the galaxy's future was about to begin. His heart was calm, but his mind raced through every possible strategy, every possible outcome. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a fight for everything humanity had worked for. "We have them outnumbered," Veckrul said, his voice steady beside the Emperor. "But they have the advantage in sheer firepower. This will not be an easy fight." Carter nodded. "I'm not looking for easy. I'm looking for victory." The Terran fleet had gathered, a massive armada of warships that stretched across the stars. The ships were sleek and fast, built for precision strikes. They were equipped with quantum weaponry, energy shields that could withstand even the heaviest hits, and AI systems that made them nearly impossible to predict. Each ship was a carefully crafted instrument of war, designed to outthink and outfight the enemy. But despite the numbers and the strength of the Terran forces, Carter knew this battle would be different. The Council was desperate. They were willing to do anything to maintain their control over the galaxy, and they would use every weapon they had. The battle began without warning. The first wave of Council ships came out of hyperspace, a wall of destruction that filled the void. Terran warships moved to intercept, darting in and out of formation, firing their advanced weapons with deadly accuracy. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as the two fleets collided, and the soundless chaos of battle unfolded across the stars. But even as the Terran fleet struck hard, the Council's ships retaliated with brutal force. Powerful energy blasts shook the Sovereign, but its shields held strong. Carter's voice rang out across the bridge, issuing commands as his fleet moved to outflank the enemy. The Terran ships were fast, but the Council's ships were numerous, and they fought with the desperation of a cornered beast. "We need to break their line," Carter ordered. "Focus fire on their command ship. If we take out their leadership, their fleet will scatter." Veckrul's eyes narrowed. "It's risky, but it's our best shot." The Terran fleet executed a daring maneuver, splitting into two groups. One group launched a direct assault on the Council's flagship, while the other engaged the remaining fleet, drawing their attention away from the main target. It was a dangerous tactic, but it was their only hope. As the Sovereign and its allies pushed through the enemy lines, Carter's focus never wavered. He watched as the Terran fleet's weapons tore into the Council flagship's defenses, weakening its shields. The tension on the bridge grew as the gap between the Terran forces and their target closed. "Almost there," Carter muttered under his breath. "Hold tight, everyone. This is where we win." With a final, concentrated strike, the Terran fleet pierced the flagship's outer defenses, and the Sovereign's main guns fired, hitting the heart of the Council ship. The explosion rocked space, sending shockwaves through the battle. The Council's flagship, the symbol of their power, was no more. The effect was immediate. The remaining Council ships faltered. Their command structure was broken. The Terran fleet, sensing victory, surged forward, cutting through the remnants of the Council's forces. The battle was won. Silence fell across the galaxy. The Council had been defeated. Emperor Carter stood, watching the aftermath unfold. The Terran Empire had achieved what once seemed impossible. They had taken down the greatest military force the galaxy had ever known. The Council's grip on the stars was broken, and a new order was emerging. The Terran Empire had won. But Carter knew that while this battle was over, the war for the future of the galaxy was just beginning. Humanity had proved its strength, but now it was time to prove its leadership. The galaxy would never be the same again. The victory at the Battle of the Nexus had forever changed the galaxy. The Council, once a powerful force that controlled the fate of entire species, was no more. Its leadership had been shattered, its fleets destroyed, and its influence broken. Now, the galaxy was looking to the Terran Empire to lead them into a new era. Emperor Carter stood before a vast audience of alien dignitaries, leaders from worlds that had once been under the Council's rule. The Terran Empire had promised a new way, one of freedom, cooperation, and strength. The galaxy's old powers had fallen, but a new order was rising. The conference hall buzzed with quiet anticipation. As Carter stepped forward, all eyes turned toward him. He had led humanity through the darkest times, and now he stood as the face of the future, a future that would be shaped by the Terran Empire. "We have won the war," Carter began, his voice strong but measured. "But the true challenge begins now. The galaxy has been in chaos for too long. It is time for us to build something better, together." His words resonated with the assembled leaders. Species that had once been rivals, even enemies, now found themselves united under a common cause. Earth's rise had shown them all that strength came from unity, and that the future of the galaxy didn't need to be dictated by a few, but shaped by many. "Humanity will not rule the galaxy with an iron fist," Carter continued. "We will not force our way of life on anyone, but we will stand together as equals. We will build a future where all species can prosper, side by side. The Terran Empire will be a guiding light, a symbol of what is possible when we work together." The leaders in the hall nodded in agreement. Carter's words had struck a chord. Many had once been skeptical of humanity, but now they saw that the Terran Empire was not just about conquering. It was about rebuilding. It was about creating a new era of peace, cooperation, and strength. As the conference continued, alliances were formed, trade agreements were signed, and the foundations of the new galactic order were laid. Species from across the galaxy joined the Terran Empire, not as subjects, but as partners. The Council's old divisions were replaced by a unified vision of the future. But even as the galaxy began to rebuild, challenges remained. There were still factions who clung to the old ways, still species that refused to accept the rise of humanity. Yet Carter was not afraid. He knew that the true power of the Terran Empire lay not in its military strength, but in its ability to inspire. The war had been won, but the fight for the future was ongoing. The Terran Empire would not be defined by conquest. It would be defined by the legacy it left behind. As Carter looked out at the stars from his command center, he knew one thing for certain. Humanity had not just survived the darkness. They had emerged stronger, united, and ready to lead. The galaxy was vast, and its future was uncertain, But one thing was clear. The Terran Empire was here to stay. A new dawn had begun, and humanity would lead the way.